The wind howled across the barren plains, carrying with it the loneliness of a man who had lived too long in silence. Ethan Cole, the rancher, had built his life out here on the edge of nowhere. Acres of dry land, a weathered barn, and a small wooden house that creaked whenever the night got cold. Folks in town called him the lonely rancher, because that's all he ever seemed to be. A man bound to his cattle, his land, and his memories of a wife who died too young. That night, as the sun bled into the horizon, Ethan spotted something unusual near the fence line, a figure stumbling, covered in dust, clutching at her side. He rode out fast on his horse, thinking it was a thief or maybe a drifter who'd had too much whiskey. But when he got closer, he saw her. A woman with torn clothes, her face pale as the moon, and eyes wide with a mixture of fear and exhaustion. "Please," she whispered, almost collapsing into his arms. "Just for one night, let me stay." Ethan hesitated. Strangers were trouble. Out here in the Wild West, kindness could cost you everything. But something in her voice, maybe the desperation, maybe the fragile way she held herself, cracked the walls he had built around his heart. He nodded. "Come on then. You'll be safe for tonight." Inside the ranch house, Ethan stoked the fire and poured her water. She drank as though she hadn't touched a drop in days. He asked her name, but she only shook her head. "Names can bring danger," she muttered. He didn't push. Instead, he offered her food, a blanket, and the spare room his wife once slept in. She stared at him, confused. "You don't even know me. Why help?" Ethan's voice was low. "Because once, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it, and I never forgot." For a while, the ranch was quiet. Ethan went out to check the horses, but his mind wouldn't settle. Who was she? Why had she been wandering alone at night? He pushed the thoughts away, convincing himself that she'd be gone by morning and his life would return to its silent rhythm. But sunrise came with screams. Ethan rushed inside to find the woman collapsed on the floor, blood soaking through her side. She hadn't been attacked during the night, she had been wounded before she even reached his ranch. The dark stain spreading across the floorboards told him just how grave it was. "Stay with me," he urged, kneeling beside her. Tears streamed down her face. "I didn't want to bring trouble here, but I had nowhere else to go." She gripped his hand tight, and in broken whispers, the truth spilled out. She had been fleeing men who worked for a ruthless cattle baron. They had taken everything from her family, her land, her dignity, even her father's life. She had run for days, bleeding, praying someone would show mercy. Ethan felt a storm rage inside him. He had lost his own family to men like that, greedy, lawless cowards who thought they owned the world. For years he had sworn off getting involved, telling himself it wasn't his fight. But as he looked at her trembling in pain, something inside him shifted. Maybe loneliness had kept him alive this long, but kindness could give him purpose again. He bandaged her wound as best he could, working with calloused but gentle hands. Every moment, she kept murmuring apologies, saying she didn't mean to burden him. Ethan hushed her. "You're not a burden. You're proof there's still someone left worth fighting for." By afternoon, he saddled his horse and rode to town. He didn't care about the risks anymore. He bought medicine, bandages, and even food enough for both of them. When the townsfolk asked who it was all for, he simply said, "A friend." The men chasing her came looking, of course. That very night, Ethan heard hoofbeats pounding near his ranch. Shadows moved along the fence line. He knew he had a choice: hand her over and keep his quiet life, or stand between her and danger. He didn't hesitate. Ethan lit his lantern and stood tall at the porch, shotgun in hand. "She's under my roof," he called into the dark. "And as long as she's here, you won't lay a finger on her." There was a long silence. Then the men spat curses, threatening to return with more guns. But something in Ethan's voice, the weight of a man who had already lost too much, made them ride away for the night. Inside, the woman was crying softly. "Why risk your life for me?" Ethan knelt by her side. "Because no one should have to beg for a safe place. Not in this world. Not while I'm still breathing." Days passed. Her strength began to return, though the scar on her side would stay forever. She told him her name at last, Clara. The name carried warmth, a reminder that she wasn't just a victim, but a soul still fighting to live. As they sat on the porch one evening, watching the sun dip low, Ethan felt something he hadn't in years: peace. Not because the land had changed, or the threats had vanished, but because kindness had filled the silence where grief used to live. Clara smiled faintly. If I hadn't stumbled here, I'd be gone by now. Ethan shook his head. No. You found this place for a reason. Maybe we both did. The ranch no longer felt empty. It felt alive. By sunrise, there was blood. But by the next sunset, there was also hope. Ethan had taken in a stranger, and in return, she had given him back the one thing he thought he'd lost forever: the courage to care again. And in that, the lonely rancher was lonely no more.